Hey, so everyone's asking about what MCP or Model Context Protocol is. I'm going to really quickly explain it. It's not that complicated. It's more complicated than it sounds. And I'm also going to show you the code behind Inbox Zero's own MCP. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video. I have a really cool demo of what Mintlify has just released in the last day. But basically, you can generate MCP servers from your doc. So I show you how that works and how you can do it yourself. It makes it super easy to get started with an MCP, basically turning any API or any docs into an MCP server. So what is MCP? It's basically giving Claude or any LLM extra tools to work with. So you might be thinking, wow, that's just tool calling. Well, yeah, it basically is. We're just creating a standard protocol for tool calling. So I can create the same tools and put them into Claude, into Windsurf, into Cursor, into any MCP client, and it just all works the same. The LLM now has access to these tools. No extra code had to be written. The MCP server was written once, the client was written once, and it just works now. Like, they're just completely cross-compatible. And if you want to see it in the document, the Model Context Protocol is an open standard that enables developers to build secure two-way connections between their data sources and AI-powered tools. The architecture is straightforward. Developers can expose their data through MCP servers or build AI applications, MCP clients, to connect to these servers. That's MCP in a nutshell. So let me show you a real example of that. I'm going to go over here in Windsurf, which supports MCPs. You can see here, configure MCP button, and I have one available MCP server. So this is Inbox Zero AI, and it has two tools available. And the two tools it gives the LLM are get emails needing a reply and emails needing a follow-up. Now, this is just one MCP server with two tools. We could add another 100. So I could also add an MCP server to find me GitHub issues or to create GitHub issues or to find Sentry bugs or to send emails in Gmail, or a weather API, or to do Google search, basically anything. So the power of this, I can go in Windsurf and say, hey, what emails do I have coming up? Please draft a reply to all of them and send them. So how would this work? So first it goes and uses my MCP, Inbox Zero AI, to find what emails need a reply. My server responds and it gives the answers we're going to see in a second. Then we see there's one question about a GitHub issue. So it decides to use another MCP server. Currently I only have one, but imagine I could have like 10 here right now. And the LLM can now go see the relevant GitHub issue. Maybe it can even make a fix and push it and then send a response back saying, hey, I fixed the issue. Someone else is asking, do you want to get lunch in London tomorrow? So the LLM can go check the weather and go do a Google search for a few different restaurants and then respond, okay, yeah, let's go get lunch in this restaurant. And the power of this is that Windsurf supports all of this right now, but Claude supports it all just the same. Nothing special had to happen. Any MCP client can go and just do these multiple steps, this like extended tool calling basically. So I'm showing you this in the Windsurf chat over here. I actually don't use Windsurf as my main client, but it's just been nice for the MCP stuff. MCP, by the way, super early, and the apps I've been playing with super buggy. Half the servers don't work, even the MCP client's challenging. So here's another MCP client. It's just Claude Desktop, and if you have MCP configured with Claude, you'll see two tools here. I actually had this working the other day, and I was using Claude Desktop to develop, but it just doesn't show up every time, and for some reason I can't get the tools showing anymore. But here you can see I do have two tools going in Windsurf. Let's go ask it a question. What emails do I need to reply to? And let's see what the LLM goes and does. Okay, I'm going to check your emails. Here you can see it's making a call to my MCP tool. It's checking anything older than a week. It's decided that's what it wants to know. And you can see we've got emails from Alice Smith, from Ellie, from a demo account. Now it's looking for some more. It's doing some extra checks. This is all the LLM doing itself. Now I'm going to ask it to draft a reply for each. This is just a regular LLM call. Doesn't need any special tools here. And imagine I had a Gmail MCP tool set up. I could hit send and it would just do it. So I'm going to show you how this actually works. Here you can see in Windsurf, you can set up MCP servers if you hit configure MCP. Let me just jump back here. Configure MCP will open this up. Then all you do is you paste in the command. It could be a remote command here. I'm just running it locally. So I'm running node and basically MCP server index.js is being run. Let's take a look at that in this project. This is all open source, by the way. It's Inbox Zero if you want to take a look on GitHub and give me a star. So if we take a look in apps, MCP server, and then source index.ts, here you'll see all the code. It's pretty simple, only 140 lines of code. And here we will find our different tools. So let's just jump to the end and find our tool. So here are the different tools we've set up. We've got two different tools. Let's just look at one of them. Get emails needing a reply. You can see we have a Zod object here that describes the input it can receive. So if you remember, it asks for emails older than a week and then older than 3 days. So these are the different parameters it could pass in if it wants. Then basically the older than gets passed in here. And you can see we're making an API request to the reply tracker of Inbox Zero. And you might have seen a lot of people asking, well, isn't MCP just like calling open APIs? And the answer is, yeah, a lot of the time it will be. You can also do other things like update a file on the file system. It can really do whatever you want, but we could do some calculation. Doesn't need to call in an API. But a lot of the time, MCP servers you're going to see are basically enabling the LLM to call some external API. That will be the case in many, many examples. So you can see we make a call, we're making an Inbox Zero request. This is just a regular fetch call. Here you can see I'm passing in my API key for Inbox Zero, so it knows it's me and I'm not fetching emails from someone else. You can see I'm doing fetch here, passing in the headers, some error handling. But yeah, it's basically just an API call to Inbox Zero. If we don't get any data back, we'll be like, hey, we failed. And if we do get data back, here we get a list of emails. We're going to format those emails and we're going to respond to the MCP server. Hey, I found 10 emails needing reply and here's the email list. And the formatting is basically just taking in the email responses and just saying it's the from, subject, date, and a snippet that the email is about. How this works is it uses MCP Server they imported from Model Context Protocol. You can just install that on NPM. Here you can see it's setting up the server, MCP Server, with a name and a version. I need to set the API key or this will fail. I have some types I wrote for myself just to define the response type. Here you can see is how we're returning the text response. We're just returning some content type text and the actual text that we're just returning to the LLM. And then to start the whole thing off, we have a main function. We're calling stdio server transport, connecting to the transport. And now we have our MCP server running. This is the second tool, by the way, any emails needing a follow-up. And you can see it's basically the exact same thing. It's just passing in a different URL. You'll see in the README, if you want to get this running, you can do pm run build and then pm start. So let's do that. We're going to build it. And now that's built. Now we're going to go and start it. And yeah, you can see MCP server running on stdio. If this wasn't running, by the way, over here when I ask in chat, it just wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't get a response back. It would try to call the MCP server, but it would fail. And by the way, if you want to see the reply tracker API, so let's actually take a look at that. API v1 reply tracker. Here you can see this is the actual, it's just an XJS app. We're making a GET request. Here you can see different types of emails, different type of requests we get in. It's going to do a search in the database. Then it's going to go to your Gmail account and go and fetch the actual emails. And then it's going to respond to the MCP server. And the MCP server is going to send that information back over to the MCP client. Now, to round off the video, I'm going to show you a few more examples of MCP, and then I'm going to show you a really cool way that you can generate MCPs. This literally just came out today, but you can take your API or docs and generate an MCP server from it in one line. So here are more examples of MCPs. This is in the repo Model Context Protocol servers. You can also find websites like this, like Open Tools. Here you can see an MCP for Stripe. So that means you can ask Stripe, how much money did I make this month? What plan is customer ABC on, and so on. Firecrawl, you can scrape the web using MCPs. So all this power is now directly in your AI agent. It can do basically anything. It can find files on Google Drive for you. It can do a Google web search. Whatever you want, it's all just there in any MCP client you choose. If we take a look at the GitHub one, it's open source, but you can see very similar to us. We have like these Zod objects and we're making API calls like add an issue comment. We're just making GitHub request. And so exactly same idea as we already saw for the Inbox Zero MCP. One really cool thing that came out today, and with this we'll end the video, is MCP Server Generator. So Mintlify is a docs website, really clean. I use it for Inbox Zero and another project as well. But they basically give you the ability to generate an MCP based on your docs. And this does two things. One, it makes your docs available to LLMs. So for example, if you want to know how do I upgrade my account on Inbox Zero, you can ask the LLM that, and the LLM, because it's connected to Inbox Zero MCP, it's got all that documentation to hand and it can give you the answer. The other use case, even more powerful, is real-time querying via OpenAPI. So as I mentioned, most MCPs right now are just calling other APIs. So what if we could just generate that for you? Why do you have to do anything? Why did I need to write my own code? So that's what Mintlify have gone and done. Let's see how it's set up. This is my Mintlify account. You can see npx MCP add Inbox Zero. I'm going to copy that and run it. And also here, I've toggled generate MCP server functions from OpenAPI endpoints. Now I'm in my docs repo for Inbox Zero, and you can see I've run npx mcp add Inbox Zero, and I got asked one question, what's the API key header? And I just told it it's API key. And now this has gone and generated what I wanted. And if I go to this folder over here, you'll see all the code that was generated. So I have my openapi.json. This already existed, but even this was generated by other tools. This basically says, hey, if you go to getinbox0.com/API/v1/reply tracker, whatever else it is, you can make requests here. I can get group emails, for example. Here, this is the API key we spoke about. So that's the spec. This already existed. There's some Zod file here as well. I guess it was generated. These are a bit messy. Part of it is also just I think Biome is just erroring on everything right now. But if we go to initialize, we have an MCP server over here, same as in our project. And I'm not going to read through this code, but basically the idea is very simple. It's just going to take that open API spec and basically turn each one into an MCP tool that any LLM can call. Project is pretty simple. There's some Mintlify things around the open API parsing, the main package, model context protocol SDK for it, Axios to make fetch requests, and some other packages. Let's try and run this, see what happens. And yeah, we have an MCP running, which is great. And now we can import it into another app. So hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know what you think about it. By the way, this MCP is still super early. It is a little bit challenging to build with it. I think we're going to see tons of tools like this Mintlify tool come out, and the ecosystem will evolve dramatically in the next 3 months and become a lot easier. But yeah, let me know what you think of it and if you go and build your own MCP servers.